Well, we've all heard the terms libel or slander. They're often thrown around when people are criticized, but what do they actually mean and when is it illegal? Tom Sinas joining us today to explain defamation law. Very interesting, Tom.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot more about it, and and you study it in law school.
Okay.
I did, and I found it really interesting, really for this reason, because it's really where civil litigation and the First Amendment collide.
Okay.
Right? It really gets at this question of how much rights do I have to say or write down certain things about someone else, and how much rights do they have to say, well, wait a minute, that goes too far.
Yeah.
So this falls under the broad category of defamation.
Okay.
And we hear the words libel and slander. Sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they actually mean two different things in the form of how they're communicated. Libel, easy to think is it is printed material.
Okay.
Slander is spoken.
There you go.
Okay. But they both are forms of defamation. So what is defamation? Well, it's taking a false or defamatory statement, publishing it. Now that can mean either speaking it to someone else or writing it down.
Okay.
It doesn't mean publishing it in the New York Times.
Okay.
Doing so in a way that is at least negligent, meaning not using reasonable care, and that in the doing of that, it causes some sort of harm to the other person.
That's my business. My business no longer sells enough pizzas because you said this.
That's the perfect example. You said this thing about me, and now my business has been harmed. Well, over time, the courts have struggled with, well, how do we treat public figures, right? Should we treat them the same, or do we treat them differently because we want to encourage debate about public figures? Well, public figures have less protection. In other words, for a public figure to show that they have a defamation claim, they have to show that the statements were made with knowledge that they were false, or with reckless disregard about whether they were true. So public figures have a higher burden.
Interesting.
Which gets to another point.
Yeah.
The defense to defamation,
I didn't know,
is the truth.
Yeah.
If you say something about someone that is actually true, then it is by definition not defamatory.
There you go.
So in these cases involving defamation, there's so much litigation about what the truth is, because if it is true, then it isn't defamatory.
Sure.
If you have one of these claims, if you're considering one of these claims, remember that we have a very unforgiving statute of limitations in Michigan of 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 1 year. It's
Okay.
really, really unusual. So these are tricky cases, and proving the elements is harder than it seems than what you said in your intro, which is just to say I was defamed.
Yeah, sure.
There's a bit more to it.
10-second question. Someone throws something up on like a social media. Is that considered printed? Is that liable?
That would be considered printed. Yeah, that would be considered published.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it would be the question of, well, was it true?
Yeah.
Was it negligently placed there?
Yeah.
And did the victim sustain some form of damage?
That's the big key right there. Good stuff. Where do people find you?
You can find us online at www.sinusdramus.com. Give us a call in West Michigan at 616-301-3333, or shoot us an email at info@sinusdramus.com.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Derek.